Hi everyone. Thank you for watching my CSET video. I am going to present today on the Comprehensive School and Community Treatment Criteria, or the CSET program for the state of Montana. CSET services are in schools in Montana. We're a very rural state. We have 7 people per square mile, so it's not in every school, but it's in the larger schools or the schools that can afford the program and recruit people out to the little towns, outlying towns in Montana. CSET is set forth by the Arms Agreement, which are the rules in the Montana legislature, and we are one of the only states that have this in our legislature. Youth referred to the CSET program must be served in a sequential order. So we're going to talk about what those orders are and how the priorities are made and how the need and the payer all works together. Approximately 1 in 5 children have a diagnosable mental disorder. This was a bill introduced to Congress, Senate Bill 1332, introduced by 5 senators it's a nonpartisan bill, and they recognize that 1 in 10 children have a severe emotional disability, or an SED, as I'm going to call it in this video, that affects their functioning in school and the community. And they proposed under the New Freedoms Act and then this bill that mental health should be a priority in all schools. So our stakeholders for the schools, as we did our program evaluation, and we all know now, are students, teachers, parents, community members, all the mental health providers, the therapists and behavior intervention specialists, legislatures, our funding and our funding source, community, and then our facility managers and our facilities themselves. So we have a large list of stakeholders that are vested in this program. They report that the program is achieving positive outcomes, and I'm going to show you that in this video, that we don't need a broader criteria, that the criteria that's set forth in the ARMS rules is enough for this program, and the outcomes are good for our behavioral health concerns. Youth in Montana must meet one of these following criteria. So without treatment, the youth is at risk for self-harm. So that is cutting, suicide, even suicidal ideation. The youth requires support to transition out of residential care or to a step-down unit, or from a group home to a foster family, or foster family back home. So there's lots of different placements and transitions that are a requirement for CSET, but this is an important one that we look at because we want them to function well and have the supports they need when they come out of those services. The youth needs to meet the SED criteria, which you all know is a serious emotional disability. The youth has not responded to the positive behavior interventions, the supports that the school already has. We'll talk more about that. And finally, if the youth is not attending school or is at risk for dropping out or failing due to avoidance or just not coming to school at all behaviors, then they would qualify for this program. The opponents complain that Children's Mental Health Bureau, the criteria for CSET, fails to capture all of the students that are at risk under the ARMS rules because of lack of funding or communication. But I say that's not so. I am going to show you that we have enough criteria in place that all students can qualify for this program. They may be provided, this service may be provided to children age 3 to 5, that young in preschool, who have an IEP or an individual education plan that are attending a preschool offered by the public school system. Or they can be provided to youth 6 to 20 that are enrolled in public schools. Montana is one of the only schools that has a secondary life skills program for students with learning disabilities that go to age 20. It's a fantastic program we have here too. The CSET program must be able to provide 3 things. The first is therapy. So we have to have a licensed mental health provider, a clinician who's an LCPC or an LCSW to provide group family therapy and individual therapy. They have to be able to have behavior interventions in the community, in the classroom, or any environment, or at home. Evidence-based practice is very important. So the staff is very highly trained so that they can have effective interventions for the youth. Crisis intervention, direct crisis intervention services at school, home, or in the community are also a criteria to be available to these kids. And a crisis plan needs to include face-to-face interventions or telephonic or 24/7 response to a crisis for these kids as well. And then the other thing they need to provide is services. So treatment plan coordination and collaboration with schools and administrators in the schools in Montana. Right now, even remote, we're providing those services to our remote students as well. What about those without an SED diagnosis? That's a frequent question that's asked. Medicaid eligible youth that don't have an SED diagnosed are still able to access this service. It's just minimal in the beginning. So that is 5 hours or 20 units that they can be referred to CSCT and then treated or evaluated, and then we pass that referral on to an outpatient so they can do a more thorough clinical evaluation. This allows them to come right back into the CSCT system too. As soon as they have a clinical diagnosis with an SED, then they fit right back into our program. CSCT services can also be provided to students without an IEP, so they don't have to be special ed, have a learning disability, but they do have to have that SED or an emergent crisis that allows them to have some intervention and therapy. Most programs, though, do they miss a step? Do ours miss a step? We wanted to look at that so that we can answer that question. Medicaid eligible youth not meeting that criteria, they still get treatment and therapy and referred on for intervention with this program. They get 20 units of care, like I said, 5 hours. And most of the time, 2 hours is what it takes to do a clinical evaluation. We can get them some solution-based brief therapy, focus therapy, and then refer them to outpatient. So they still get treated and they refer to CSCT afterwards. So we don't miss a step there. And Montana is the only state that reimburses through Medicaid for this program, a school-based program. So proponents to keep the criteria, we say that we provide to all students who qualify and not just students eligible for Medicaid. So our billing and our financial billing statement is set up so that students who have private insurance or no insurance at all, we try to get them a case manager to apply for Medicaid services. But if their parents have Blue Cross or private insurance, there's also a sliding fee scale. So sometimes when they have insurance, they're just on the cusp of getting insurance, and affording the copay is even expensive. So we can do a sliding fee scale. So sometimes the parents will only have to pay $100 and they will get up to 720 units of care for their child per month, which is a lot of care. So that is really helpful to know. And we don't just take Medicaid, but it is the primary source of pay. Most of the time it's about a 10-to-1 ratio, 10 Medicaid per 1 private pay or 1 sliding fee scale payer. So I'm showing you here the population that we serve. So, and the reason that CSCT is in place and where we use it. Here, general population in the schools, that's everybody down here at the bottom of the pyramid. Classroom-wide systems are in place with teachers and administrators. They have a handbook. They know, what they get expelled for, what they just get in trouble for. You lose a recess. Those systems are in place for everybody. And then the next tier up would be probably the next 30% of kids at intermediate behavior plans. The systems are in place for if they get into a fight or if they're having meltdowns at school. Montana Behavior Initiative, response to intervention programs, those are in place through the Office of Public Instruction, or OPI. But we in CSCT will use the high risk, the top 1 to 5% of the population. Those are at risk for dropping out of school. They're at risk for self-harm, and we really worry about those kids. And those are the kids that are on the cusp of needing residential care or a higher level of care outside of their community. CSCT is meant to keep them in their community, functioning in their schools and in their neighborhoods. So that's good, and we want to keep them home. We are meeting the needs of kids in school. The criteria isn't too narrow. This program enhances the school counseling services. We have intensive support for those who need it. We support the Montana Behavior Initiative through the Office of Public Instruction and through the schools. It's proven that we increase attendance and engagement in schools. Kids know when they come to school, if they're depressed or they're anxious, they have a place to go to get good therapeutic services. And it reduces the dropout rate because they're staying in school. We're supporting them in their educational environment, and they're not avoiding that environment because they have a safe place to go. So we improve the behavioral outcomes. And if we need to, we do refer to a higher level of care. If we find a kid is in our care just is really struggling and they're doing self-harm or they are really at risk, we will refer them to a higher level of care. And we have good relationships with those services as well. It's a strong program. So in 2017, the Loveland Group came in and did a program evaluation. 10 face-to-face interviews with leadership currently working in the CSET programs throughout Montana. And they did 319 electronic surveys as well with participants and stakeholders. They found that the staff is highly trained. They are using evidence-based practice and research-based tools to screenings to make sure that the care given is the highest that it can be, high fidelity. There's collaboration with administration and teachers in the school district, and of course with the students and families as well. Our schools use Montana Behavior Initiative. We wanted to see if all the schools were using that before, as we talked about that pyramid. Are the schools using it? Are we using this correctly? Is CSET correct? Yes, Montana Behavior Initiative, about 80% are using that, and behavior intervention. And this is asked across the settings of school staff, counselors, and administration, and CSET. And I like that they were all answering about the same, which makes me think that the population that needed to be served by Montana Behavior Initiative is being served in that way. Effective outcomes. So this group, the Loveland Group, through program evaluation that took about 12 months, showed that 40% of the students who are in CSET have good or excellent outcomes. 40% have fair or maintaining outcomes. So that's 80% are fair, maintaining, or better after using the CSET programs in the school, which shows that they're staying in school. Their behaviors are either maintaining so that they can function, or they're improving so that they can move on. Either way, we're going to support them and continue to do good work. 20% have poor outcomes, which that's higher than the 1 to 5% that we wanted to see there, but we can continue to work on that, and it can be a good goal for our program. So thank you for listening to this. I appreciate that everybody took the time to listen and to find out about CSET, the Comprehensive School and Community Treatment Plan, and how the criteria isn't too narrow. We serve all kids in Montana, and we will continue to do so. Thank you. So one more slide. Yay! It's effective in schools. We have good relationship with the administrators and the staff. We have positive outcomes. All students can be served in some capacity, whether they have Medicaid or private insurance, and it includes all students and availables in most schools in Montana. Thank you.